Have you ever noticed how much energy you spend trying to take up less space? How you shrink yourself in conversations, apologize for your opinions, dim your light so others feel more comfortable around you? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, discovered something profound that changed how we understand the human condition. He found that the moment you stop apologizing for existing, everything changes. Not just your confidence, but your entire life begins to transform in ways you never expected. If you're searching for insights into living authentically, subscribe to this channel because we explore the deepest ideas about becoming who you truly are. The journey Jung described isn't about becoming arrogant or selfish. It's about recognizing that you have a right to exist, just as everyone else does. You don't need permission to take up space. You don't need to earn the right to have thoughts, feelings, and desires. There's a particular kind of person who constantly apologizes for existing. They're often sensitive, aware of how their presence affects others, and deeply concerned with being a burden. These qualities aren't weaknesses, but when they combine with a core belief that you're inherently too much, they create a prison. You monitor every word before speaking. You check facial expressions to see if people are annoyed. You offer excessive apologies for things that aren't your fault. You shrink your dreams to fit inside other people's comfort zones. Jung explored what he called the shadow self, the parts of ourselves we hide away because we believe they're unacceptable. But here's what he discovered. The energy required to suppress who you are is exhausting. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it, but you're expending tremendous force just to keep it submerged. That same force, if redirected, could move mountains. When you apologize for existing, you're essentially telling yourself that your existence is a problem to be solved. Your presence is something to minimize. Your voice is something to quiet. Your needs are something to deny. Over time, this belief becomes so woven into your identity that you stop questioning it. It just feels like the way things are. But Jung insisted that psychological wholeness requires integration, not suppression. You have to acknowledge all of who you are and claim your right to be here. Consider how this plays out in relationships. If you believe you're apologizing for existing, you'll attract people who reinforce that belief. You might find yourself with partners who take your constant apologies as permission to treat you poorly. You'll have friendships where you're always the one accommodating, the one adjusting, the one saying sorry for inconveniencing them. They're a reflection of the internal relationship you have with yourself. The transformation begins when you realize something critical. Your existence isn't something that needs justification. You're here. That's enough. You don't need to earn the right to take up space by being useful, productive, or perfectly aligned with someone else's expectations. This sounds simple, but it's revolutionary for anyone who spent their life apologizing. Jung also understood that the unconscious mind is incredibly powerful. When you're constantly apologizing, you're sending a message to your unconscious that you don't belong. Over time, your mind organizes itself around this belief. You start making choices that confirm it. You avoid opportunities because you don't feel worthy. You sabotage good things because you don't believe you deserve them. You settle for less because you're grateful anyone would have you at all. The day you stop apologizing for existing, something remarkable happens. First, you notice a physical shift. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing deepens. You stop monitoring the room constantly for signs of disapproval. There's a lightness that comes from no longer carrying the weight of trying to be smaller. This physical shift is significant because your body remembers who you've been pretending to be. When you change your posture, your nervous system registers safety. You're no longer in a defensive position. Like this video if this resonates with you, because the more of you who reclaim your right to exist, the more we shift the collective consciousness away from shame and toward authenticity. Mentally, the shift is even more profound. You start thinking differently. Instead of running a constant internal commentary about how annoying you are, you can actually focus on what matters. You have mental energy for creativity, for connection, for growth. You're not constantly defending yourself against an imaginary jury. Emotionally, something opens up. You might feel anger rising, and that's healthy. Anger is often the first emotion that emerges when we stop suppressing ourselves. It's the emotional equivalent of the beach ball shooting up out of the water with tremendous force. Let it come. Underneath the anger, you'll find grief for all the time you spent apologizing for being alive. And underneath that, you'll find a quiet, fierce determination to live differently. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming yourself, requires courage. It means risking disapproval. It means accepting that not everyone will like the real you. Some people liked the apologetic version because it was predictable and easy. The real you, the one who takes up space and speaks your truth and honors your needs, might challenge them. That's not your responsibility to manage. One of the most liberating truths is that you can't control how people respond to you being authentically yourself. You can only control whether you show up authentically. When you stop apologizing for existing, some people will distance themselves. That's actually good information. It tells you that the relationship was conditional on you being smaller. Real connections, the ones worth having, are built on mutual acceptance. People who care about you want the real you, not a diminished version. The workplace is often where we practice apologizing for existing most intensely. Women especially are trained to soften their presence, to qualify their opinions with phrases like, "I might be wrong but," or "I'm probably not the only one thinking this." Men often receive messages that certain emotions or vulnerabilities are unacceptable, so they learn to suppress entire aspects of themselves. When you stop apologizing for your presence at work, something shifts. You become more effective because you're not splitting your attention between your actual job and the job of managing others' perceptions. Jung said that the unconscious is not evil, it's just unconscious. The parts of you that you've labeled unacceptable aren't actually dangerous. When you reclaim them, you become whole. You become more flexible, more resilient, more genuinely powerful, because you're drawing on all of your resources instead of using half your strength to hold down the other half. Here's a practical truth. The people who believe in themselves, who take up space unapologetically, who speak their minds and pursue their desires, are not actually less liked than everyone else. Research consistently shows that confidence, authenticity, and self-respect are attractive qualities. What happens is that fewer people like you, but the people who do like you actually like you. The quality of your relationships improves dramatically, even if the quantity decreases. The day you stop apologizing for existing is the day you stop living for an audience. You stop performing a version of yourself designed to please an imaginary crowd. You start making decisions based on what feels true for you, not what will make others comfortable. This is when life actually begins, because you're finally living as yourself, not as a character you invented to survive in a world that made you feel unwelcome. Jung's work points toward this truth. Psychological health is not about being nice or fitting in. It's about integration, wholeness, authenticity. When you're integrated, when you've reclaimed the disowned parts of yourself, you actually become more genuinely loving and generous because you're not depleted from constantly suppressing yourself. You have overflow instead of emptiness. This journey doesn't happen overnight. You'll catch yourself apologizing and have to consciously choose to stop. You'll feel uncomfortable taking up space at first because it's unfamiliar. But each time you choose to show up as yourself, you reinforce a new neural pathway. You're rewiring your brain to believe that your existence is acceptable. That's what transformation is. If you're resonating with this message, if any part of you recognizes the exhaustion of apologizing for being alive, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. We explore these deep psychological truths regularly because I believe the world needs more people who are unapologetically themselves. Your authentic self is not too much. Your voice matters. Your existence is not a burden.